cement, and they have a whole team here on ground as well, and he'll be speaking on the panel, which is just getting underway right now as I'm speaking to you here in the main auditorium, about how to use technology to be a game changer for Africa. We have a few industries in which we need technology to ramp up the few industries we have, but also in key areas like agriculture, which is very passionate to the EFA, and which we expect Amit Rabiu from the Gua Group to also speak about, including other members on the panel.
Now, Emerson Mnangagwa, President of Zimbabwe, and Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, former President of Nigeria, are at that event. What message do they hope to pass on as political leaders?
Look at the leaders, political African leaders who are here, aside the host country with the president of Cote d'Ivoire. You have the president of Zimbabwe who just took office a few months ago. He's been on the road show around the world trying to woo investors back to a post-Mugabe democratic Zimbabwe. So he's going to be at the plenary with Nigeria's president Olusegun Obasanjo. Of course, you know, former President Obasanjo is also very keen. Anywhere you discussing Pan-African issues and trade on agriculture, on security, and whatever, the former president is always present. But you also have the president of Liberia, who will also be here, President John Weah, who also took office about a month or two ago. He's also coming very strongly here. He's going to speak to what will be the way forward for Liberia emerging from the previous administration. You had the president of Ghana would also be here. So you have about 5 African heads of state and government who will be here, who will be talking to the political side of the conversation. But more importantly, what we need to do to move Africa forward in terms of transformation. So the key word you will hear here over the next 2 days is about transformation, and transformation without rhetoric. Whether it is about women in business, in healthcare, in education, in technology, and even in social services that are sorely needed on the African continent.
Now, quickly talk to us about the Nigerian delegates there. I understand quite a number of them are there, and what the CEOs, of course, from Nigeria who are there, hope to take away.
Number of the CEOs from the UBA Capital Group to FBN Quest to Nigeria Rabiu to a number of people, the man in charge of Center for Business Integrity, so Japan, and quite a number of others. Nigerians are heavy here. The Bayelsa State Governor, Seriake Dixon, also came in a convoy this morning. He'll be speaking on a panel tomorrow afternoon on natural resources and the gas opportunities that Bayelsa State is bringing to the fore. They're using this opportunity, Bayelsa State, to sell. Yesterday night, I saw the managing director of the new Bayelsa Airlines that he told me will start flying operational by July of 2018. And I said, I would like to be on the first flight of Bayelsa Airlines when that comes into existence. So Bayelsa State, for example, is here on a very large scale with members of the team, commissioners and other agencies. But also we have the solid minerals, the steel and mines, Minister, Honorable Minister, Dr. Karen Fayemi would also be here on another panel to speak to what has been done in the Nigerian extractive industry. Then Folorunso Alakija has a session at about 2 hours local time this morning. But the Nigerian focus panel will be tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and that is the to watch for everyone, where it's going to be all Nigerians, and the focus for the first time in 6 years. This is the first time that the organizers are putting Nigeria on the agenda with the focus on the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Bolson. I can see everything is set to start now. Enjoy the rest of the day, and we hope to get more feedback from you. In the meantime, the 2018 Africa CEO Forum, holding in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, with hundreds of CEOs in attendance, the president of the forum, Ama Yamad, tells Channel's business editor Bolson Omofaye some of the issues to be addressed this year at the forum.
What will be some new key issues to look at for in this year's edition of the Africa CEO Forum?
Basically, the idea for this edition, it was to have a look back at what we have achieved in the first 5 editions. We have a sense that it's time for transformation. Why? Because we have basically seen 2 different decades just before this one. 98 to 2008, which was a high growth decade, 2008 to 2018, which is kind of a crisis consolidation mode. And so we were trying to make this conference all about the next decade, and assuming that it's transformation time, because what we have achieved so far is good, but definitely not enough at a time where the rest of the world is changing even faster. So we need to really get going about this.
In terms of the last 5-6 years, how much of the discussions at this forum do you think is already changing how the way we do things and business across Africa?
Basically, I think the main achievement of this conference is to have put the private sector on the map for public officials. Up until the end of the year 2000s, private sector was not so much into the discussion between public officials when they were talking about economic policies. And now one of the main achievements, you won't have any discussion about growth without talking about a private sector-led growth. And basically we're thinking we're getting into a new phase where the private sector has to really think about the next steps in order to achieve the transformation that we haven't done up until now, because what we have to realize is that although we had high growth in the last 10 years, we still have huge weaknesses when we're especially regarding what's going on around Africa.
What game-changing things would you like to see in sub-Saharan Africa in terms of the macro-economic situation across the continent?
I think there are three main issues. First issue is changing the public-private discussion. I think African private sector has to engage way more aggressively into some discussion. When we look, for example, at the doing business rankings of Africa, frankly, it's not acceptable. Every year we get press release about how African countries are part of the countries that are the most reforming countries. But at the end of the day, when you look at the average position of Africa in this ranking, it's 141.
We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will look at the federal government's strategies in developing the MSMEs sector. To stay with us.